Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Welcome. My name is Eric Doyle and this is OGV Energy Live, our interactive live stream show which brings you news and insight from across the energy sectors by bringing to life the UK's leading energy industry publication, of course, OGV Energy Magazine. Say hello to us, let us know where you are in the world, let us know who you work with and what you do for a living, and we will give you a shout out. This show is completely interactive and we always make sure we say hello to everyone that joins us. If you have seen this show before, you'll know that each month we feature interviews, discussions, and really nice conversations with our partners from across the publication and across the industry to update you on all the very latest news and opinions on a particular energy-related topic. So don't be shy with your comments and I'll pick out the most interesting questions or comments to put to our guests. We always put up a little incentive for that. We put up a lovely prize for the best question or the best comment of the day wins a free half-page article or advert in a future publication. Your marketing department, your management team will love you, and we offer that up every month. So keep your comments coming in. Let's say hi just now to Beth. Hello, Beth. Thank you for joining us. Beth from Zinc 360 that we'll be hearing a little more about later on. And hi to Nicola and Andrew that have joined us. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. This month is the Innovation and Technology issue of OGV Energy Magazine. And we're going to kick things off all things innovation and tech related with our headline guest today, Luca Carrari, Chief Technology Officer at the Net Zero Technology Centre. We're also going to be speaking to Stuart Harvey, Vice President of Digital Innovation at ProServe. These guys are going to be giving us a real overview on the key trends and new technologies they are seeing in this space. Hi to Willem. Hi, Willem from Spirit. Good to see you here. Thank you very much for joining us today. Then we're going to move to our In the Spotlight section where we feature companies that are at the sharp end of that particular topic we're talking about. We're going to meet Paul Goonan, Head of Business Development at Arnley Systems, David Wood, Product Manager at Zinc 360, and Jamie Burns, Managing Director at Ailsa Reliability Solutions. We'll then be heading into the very latest in what's happening in our markets, in our Market Watch section with Neil Golding, the Director of Market Intelligence from the Energy Industries Council. And we're also delighted to have Bazad Ayoub with us, Senior Analyst with Westwood Global Energy Group. So remember to keep your comments and questions coming in for all of our guests. We like to make them work hard while they're here, so plenty of good questions and comments, please. Let's get our money's worth. First off, let's meet our first two guests. Luca Gradi, Chief Technology Officer at the Net Zero Technology Centre, and Stuart Harvey, Vice President of Digital Innovation at ProServe. Let's bring on our guests today. 1 second and I'll sort out my buttons. Stuart, you're here.
Afternoon, Eric.
It's great to have you. It's great to have you. I'm just going to put this caption off. Hi, Luca. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm very well, thank you.
Very good indeed. Very good indeed. It's great to have you both here on a day when I walked out in Aberdeen and actually saw a little bit of sun shining, which was lovely.
It's not that rare. Come on.
a little bit. And Stuart, you're over in Trondheim, right?
Yeah, I can't comment. Yeah, it's always sunny, obviously, in
always
Norway.
Sunny.
Yeah, never snows or anything.
Times are getting dark these days in Trondheim.
No, it's the opposite now. We're probably getting longer days than you in Aberdeen.
So, absolutely.
We're on the right side at the minute. It's good.
Yeah, very much so. So innovation and technology. And if you've read this month's magazine, you'll see that Stuart Harvey has featured yet again on the front page, looking very sharp. Congratulations on that.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah. So look, we're going to start with you, if that's okay. Big news at the Net Zero Technology Centre. For those who watch the industry wires, you will see that your colleague of the last seven or so years, Colette, is moving on, standing down as CEO. New CEO coming in, Myrtle Dawes. Early indications of what that means for Net Zero and the change out of CEO?
Well, we've been going through an exercise of looking at our strategy and reshaping our strategy for future sustainability and to make even a more impactful role in the energy transition. And I think that strategy takes a few years, which led the Colette to think, okay, it's going to take a long time. Well, not a long time, but longer than she planned to stay. And so maybe that has accelerated a bit. Colette has been a phenomenal. She drove the technology center from the day one. I was fortunate enough to be part of the team from day one, and it's been really an enjoyable ride.
Yeah.
and now has a number of board roles, and maybe planning to play a bit more golf. But she complained that her handicap wasn't good enough. I think it's dramatically good for me. But
Yeah, exactly.
It gets worse the more you practice.
It does. The opposite, right?
But Mirto has been with us since 2019, leading the Solution Center, so the core of our operation. So I think he's the best candidate, and he's fantastic as well. And so she's taking over, and we're switching over the summer formally, but of course things are going on, and setting up for the future Net Zero Technology Center, which I'm sure will be even more exciting than has been so far.
Absolutely, we're all super keen to see it all sort of happen, and what comes out of that change in personnel. Wonderful. So the Net Zero Technology Center, NZTC to some, you launched technology services last November. So for those who haven't noticed this, or for those even who are involved with it, just give us a little reminder of why, what, and what that's all about, and how's that going?
It's going very well. I'll come back to that. I was going, but the why and then what. Well, we started being asked by operators or emitters to help them in their roadmapping to net zero. How can which technology are best for them? Which technologies can help them, reducing their own emissions? And as a public funded body, we cannot give individualized advice. We can develop new technologies and then push them out. Luckily, we can. That's how I created technology services, because we remain a net zero. We remain a non-for-profit organization focused on net zero. But we can provide that service as a service. So this is, instead of us investing money together with industry in developing projects, this is us providing a service to industry and using the revenue to fund even more technology development projects and bringing back the organization. And so we start being asked to help, and that's why I felt, okay, maybe we can help, and it seems that we can, because we are a bit in demand, to be honest. But what we bring is an understanding of the current and the emerging technologies for net zero. Because our technology team lives and breathes in new technology and innovation. We've been assessing more than 2,000 technologies. Hundreds of them have become a project, either a study or a project, and about 175 went through a field trial. So even those that are not available now, we have a good idea on when they can be available and how impactful they can be. And so when you do a roadmap in terms of how do I get to net zero by 2030, 2040, 2050, depending on where your requirement is, you shouldn't look only at today's technology. You should also be aware of what is coming up. And that's where our advice can help, because as I said, we have a good understanding of some of these technology, how impactful they can be, and also when they can be available. Clearly, it's not a certainty, but it's an educated guess, if you want. And so that is one of the things we're doing for customers. Another one, actually, that has been in high demand is horizon scanning. Remember when we met a year ago?
Yes, that was one of your pieces of advice, is to horizon scan. That's what you're doing and you're thinking about. Yeah, you did. You spoke about it a year ago with us.
A year ago, yeah. And it was having organizational agility. And to have organizational agility is about having this mindset of looking into the future or the potential futures and be ready to flex and adapt. And so that horizon scanning apparently picked up, because we're helping companies improving the way they do it, or even providing that as a bit of a service. It starts off what are the key elements that outside of your organizational control, and so that would be technology innovation be done somewhere else. It can be policy development, it can be society evolution. What is likely to affect and impact your business, and what should you do about it? So that kind of clearly our focus on the technology side of it, but policy and society are impacting technology development as well.
Incredible.
So we're helping, for example, a few companies on that, and reviewing how they do it and providing a bit more insight and helping them doing it better.
Fantastic. And I know you maybe can't get into specifics about technology services, but really practically, how does it work? If a company was out there and had that kind of like these questions about that, and blah, blah, blah. How would it be from initial contact? What would a project look like in technology services?
Well, first, reach out on our website. That's a good starting point, or reach out to me, but reach out to our website is the best thing. There's a simple form to fill, and that gets into the process. And then we quickly analyze if we can help, make sure we don't have any conflict of interest on technology that we are co-developing, but also provide a quick response. And then it becomes a service.
Outstanding. I can see some of our guests in our green room. They are taking notes. Contact Luca. I think that's actually happening. So is this purely Scotland and UK, or are you spreading your wings a bit more these days?
No, that's also part of our strategy, right? So I think we're a mission-based organization. Well, our mission is to accelerate the path to net zero through technology. And so we'll be limiting, sort of a moral obligation to help where most impact can be done. And so now we're going global. We're going global, and we're actually at the moment working with a client in the Middle East, an operator.
Okay.
And we are helping them reviewing their research and development portfolio, to set, okay, what is missing here in your journey to net zero? What technology can potentially be applicable to your specific plant and asset that are not available now, but you should invest or you should look into your research and development portfolio, and also helping them with the horizon scanning as well. That's
you heard it here first. Technology services and horizon scanning. Brilliant. I love that. We're just going to say hi to some of our lovely viewers that have joined us since we last said hello. We obviously got Willem, Hassan. Good to have you, Hassan. From Aberdeen, Blackburn. As far away, we've got guests from as far away as Blackburn. It's amazing. Someone from Repsol Sinopec. Brahim is here. Antonio is here. Hello, Antonio. It's good to have you with us. Matthew, thank you for joining us. My next question to you, Luca, was actually picked up on by the lovely James Johnson. So I was going to ask you about this subject, but James has asked, TechX is the flagship program for NZTC. Any feedback on the performance of those companies who've been through the program, and any updates on any future TechX or current activity?
Thank you for the question. We are actually now in the 5th cohort, so launched 3-4 weeks ago. Okay. And that is the 5th round of startups. So we added 13 new startups to the portfolio. We have we graduated 45 from our program over the past 5 years. And they're still going strong. In terms of performance, I'm glad to report that they have raised about 75 million in equity across these companies. And 10 million in revenue. So some of them are generating revenues, which on a startup is always a good signal. And overall, they're employing about 250 people, which is also part of that great result. So it is a flagship program. It is, it has international partners as well. Is going very well, and it's interesting because starting was more on the optimization, and now there's a lot of the company and technologies are about net zero. So we have 4 or 5 about hydrogen, and making hydrogen better or cheaper or faster, adopted in for unmanned vessels for operation at sea, or catalyst, a new type of catalyst for production, hydrogen motors for aviation, maybe also making hydrogen from wastewater. These are just some of the new ones we have. Some of them are on wind, a new wind turbine design, which is promised to be, if it works, more efficient and modular, which is combining the scale with the solving the problem of transporting big things around, but also using space technology to assess weather in order to optimize renewables operations at sea, and direct air capture or carbon capture and storage. That's also a very promising field, right? Which is when I was talking about direct air capture 3 years ago, people were thinking we were mad. Now there is a number of projects. One of our companies actually, Mission Zero, graduated from a previous cohort that went on to win the Elon Musk prize. So you can see that they're growing. clearly it's very expensive. It's still very expensive. So our goal as a technology center and the work we do with startups, but also the other project is all about making this technology more affordable. And part of that is making them more reliable and better performing.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much to James for that brilliant question. Can everyone else do exactly what James has done and put down great questions like that, so we can put it to Luca and to Stuart. Willem Boon van Oxy, the man with the coolest name I've ever heard in my life. There's actually the third at the end of that, but he doesn't like to talk about it. Said Icerto or Icerto is a good example of TechX success. I'm sure we'll agree. That's fantastic. Thanks very much for that. So, we always, when we think of Net Zero Technology Centre, we think of the companies you're supporting, the companies that you're helping, but also how you're translating and interpreting what comes from government. What government and industry support is needed to push forward for net zero? Now that you've been at this for a while, you've been focused on this for 7 odd years now, so now your thinking must have pulled through and crystallised. What government and industry support, hand in hand, and maybe other bodies, do you see as needed to really push this forward now?
Yeah, I mean, the support has been great, both from government and industry, right? So all these projects, those numbers I quoted before, are thanks to the contribution and the support of government and industry. We don't do anything by our own. And clearly, the past year has been challenging because the pressure on the energy security potentially seems to have it may appear that it has distracted a bit from the energy transition and from the sustainability, but it really hasn't. As the macro trend is still at play, and we do a lot of work with companies that, they do have maybe short-term challenges, but the strategic direction is still that of going net zero, because that's obviously what needs to be done. From a government perspective, what I think is needed, is to keep investing in technology, because the technology, we see the rate at which technology is evolving, and it is fascinating. And so we need to do what I said, 2 things, a dual approach, right? So we do have technology now. We can produce hydrogen now. We can do carbon capture and storage. We can reduce emission, eliminate emission at the moment. And we should do it at pace, in earnest, because it's an urgent problem, climate change. At the same time, these technologies are in the early stage of maturity. Is somehow like driving a car from the 30, a Ford Model T or a Volkswagen Beetle first generation. It can take you anywhere as long as you got petrol and as long as you got a set of tools to repair it on the road, because those cars were breaking frequently. And it wasn't very efficient. So what we need to develop is the cars of today. Self-driving, self-parking, super safe, airbags, active suspension, etc., etc. And those things need to happen together. There's no separate route. So now that we are starting to see the industrial clusters, which is great, moving on, and hopefully there will be good future for the Scottish cluster. I'm crossing my finger, but there seems to be promising signal. We need to deploy the technology to make them happen, but we should also use them as test bed for new technology, with a dual purpose. On one side, we can test this new technology on a real case. On the other side, we're future-proofing this early deployment, being able to adopt the new technology as it evolves. And further, this allows the development of an innovation ecosystem in the supply chain, because then the UK supply chain has the potential to develop this technology and then export IP, export technology, not only export hydrogen or fuels. So there's a need for an acceleration on that front, right? So there's been a bit distraction on the international front, which we can also understand.
Yep.
But there's a need to double down on that, and especially I would say on alternative fuel production, in hydrogen, in carbon capture and storage. And Scotland can be a very, very good test bed for all those test and demonstration sites, I think.
Very good. Keith, thank you for your question. I'm going to hold that until the end of this section, and we will come back to it. Hi, Craig. Thanks for joining us. And just finally, before we move on to Stuart, you were at COP27 in Egypt last year, towards the end of last year, I think November. What took you there, and what did you get out of it? And are you planning to do anything for COP28 in Dubai?
I mean, the COP adventure is really fascinating, right? So we started our involvement in COP in Glasgow for COP26 because it was on our doorstep. Why shouldn't we? And actually, we look at that technology front because I think that there's a narrative out there that the technology is ready, we just need to use it, and it's all about finance, and it's all about incentives and etc. And yes, finance is extremely important, especially in the COP, discussion. How can developed country help developing country and finance this project? But as I said before, the technology is not already there. There's a lot to do, and so we brought together a COP26, a coalition of 11 technology centers similar to us that are working on the energy transition. So we are working in the North Sea, on the UK North Sea. What are the Dutch doing in the Netherlands? So TNO was a part of it. What is Australia planning to do with their massive fossil fuel production? And so we have CSIRO and NERA. And then the National Renewable Energy Laboratory from the United States, and so forth, including Japan, which is not a producer, but a big utilizer of fossil fuel. And so we started with a summit in COP26 that generated a collaborative project. We developed a report that was launched in November last year for COP27. Mm-hmm. A report which is looking how are these oil and gas basins planning to become net zero? Yeah. And what technology are they betting on? What target are they setting for them? And what are the commonality and differences there? That report, which is very, very fascinating to do. I presented that at COP27 in Egypt, and generated a lot of interest and enthusiasm. And now we're working with a selection of the same partners on COP28. We would like to take it one step further, which is how can the technology centers and the technology expertise of the north of the world come together to bring the south of the world in it. Wow. And it's not just about deploying technology. It's not technology colonialism. It's about, can we put together a system, a process, something in place where we can help a developing country, leapfrog their energy and overcome their energy poverty challenges, but contributing to net zero. And maybe sometimes it's about carbon capture to existing sources of fossil fuel in the meantime while we develop renewables. But it's also about developing the skills and entrepreneurship in those countries. So can we think of a system, a process that we can do this together? And I think that's maybe utopic if you want, or a dreamer, but that's what we are working, and I really hope to give you good news about that before COP28, which is
brilliant. We'll be sure to check in with you and listen closely to what's coming out of that. Thank you so much, Luca. We'll try and pull back towards you to the end because there's some nice questions coming in. Stuart, you've been sitting there patiently waiting. I have a question for you, which you might be able to shed some light on. So, for anybody who watches the industry wires, you will have noticed that ProServe appointed Renewable UK's former CEO Hugh McNeil to its own board last year. And it's come out, I think, in the last couple of days, maybe the news is that hot that it was today, that ProServe's CEO Davis Larson is seeking election to the board of directors of Renewable UK and is in that process just now. What's the thinking behind that alliance and partnership between the two organisations? Because it's very interesting stuff.
Yeah, sure. Good question as well. So obviously, the way in which ProServe's built our culture and the business that we have, we've built it through listening and engaging with industry. And Hugh himself transitioning and wanting to join ProServe's board, obviously he's done that because he believes in the strategic plan and growth strategy that ProServe has, and it's fantastic to have someone like that come on board with the caliber that Hugh has and the value that he brings. So by joining the two together, it's another way of us being able to engage and be part of what we believe the future energy mix will be, particularly in the UK, of course, and get behind and support that. It's obvious to us that offshore wind and floating wind are going to be a key part of that mix, where ProServe's offering can play a key part of that, both in creating jobs and also exporting technology. Wow,
good stuff. So much more to come on that, and a very interesting sort of collaboration in progress. Cutting back to this month's magazine, your article, in your article, you speak very passionately and very eloquently about your take on the power of partnership, and it kind of rings true. But one thing I did notice was that you make a point of telling the world that you you actually see significant advantages in not owning all the technology, which may have been a reversal in thinking from, maybe 20 years ago, whatever. So why is this sort of acceptance that maybe owning the technology is not that important for you?
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Yeah, great question. And I think it still rings true, to be honest, for most companies that they perceive having to own it. I mean, for us, it's pretty simple. We've got that philosophy because we're extremely ambitious. And we also believe that success is a team game. If you've got that philosophy, you can achieve significantly more than you can if you try and do everything yourself.
Yeah.
And that applies to most things in life. The origins of that philosophy is, again, through listening to customers and the market, where they want best-in-class technologies, and by adopting that philosophy, that enables us to implement that as our strategic plan. It's as simple as that, really. And also, it's, to be honest, I am working in it, in that space. It's actually really exciting because it's like working in a startup environment, and working with a lot of startup technologies, and joining them on their journey and commercializing their technology.
Brilliant. Pulling through on that startup feel, that startup kind of mindset. One of the things that both you and Davis talk about in this month's issue is it sort of rings through the whole piece about, you're a big company, you're a big organization, you work on very, very hard sums and complex projects and stuff like that. But one of the things that's at the core of all that is maintaining this entrepreneurial spirit, which harmonizes very well with what you're talking about with not owning all the tech. And, what do you believe are the key factors to developing and then maintaining an organization's collaborative and entrepreneurial culture? How on earth do you keep that going in a big company?
For me, it's sort of two things: people and leadership. With people, you need different perspectives and be able to understand and leverage those different perspectives. I think there's a recipe of sort of three key things you need when it comes to people to have consistent success. Consistent, being a key word. You need someone that understands the industry problem, but who also has a vision of what the future looks like or could look like. You need people that understand the way things have always been done, and therefore understand the current state and have domain knowledge. And then you probably also need, well, not probably, you do need some technical people with no preconceived ideas, in my opinion. But it's one of those topics that I'd be really interested to know what other people think to that. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, from a leadership perspective, you need to give those individuals space to create a certain amount of anarchy within an organisation, and challenge the way things that have always been done, and allow them to take risks, allow them to make mistakes, within a risk category, to take things forwards. And it comes back to some of Luca's points earlier about the whole horizon scanning, and understanding what the future looks like. And Kodak, as we all know, is a brilliant case study for what will happen if you don't leverage that sort of philosophy.
Analysis paralysis, and just watch the world all go away. Sorry, I've just been the largest question ever written on this, posted by Gareth, and it's just caught my eye. I hope that's not a chat GPT cut and paste, but it's a belter. We'll come back to it. Well, we've still got you, Stuart. In the magazine, I understand the concept. I think the terminology was new to me. You talk about RTO quite a lot, real-time optimization. Can you just give us a bit of an overview on what that's all about?
Yeah, sure. So, as probably most viewers know, optimization has been around since the probably 80s, 90s. It was in our industry, the energy industry. It was sort of pioneered predominantly in the chemical processing space, where you basically do numerical modeling to figure out optimum set points.
Right.
On control systems. You need a bunch of experts that have typically been in organizations for many years, seen it all, developed that skill set. with the evolution of new technologies, and I'm sure Luke knows everything about this, things like machine learning is a technique and method that you can apply to controllers in a real-time environment by connecting those algorithms essentially to that layer in the control environment. You can, with the right technology, of course, in terms of your algorithms, be able to understand what the optimum set points are in real time and continuously update those. So in our industry, there's a lot of complex, non-linear problems to solve, like wind turbines. The wind changes direction consistently. Turbulence is a big issue. General wear and tear on turbines. So knowing what your optimum set points are all the time is very hard to solve through traditional numerical modeling. So RTO is the development, is a huge development space currently, which is built around things like machine learning to exploit that opportunity.
Very good. Thank you very much for that. Keep the questions coming in, and we will come back to the questions that have come in just at the end. I guess from the outside looking in, what you've both alluded to today is a big part of that innovative entrepreneurial spirit is being able to, particularly with innovation culture, is the ability to see beyond what's right in front of you and look into the future. And in the magazine, you talk about reimagining controls. How do you see energy assets being controlled in the future? And what do you think is the main challenge for this shift?
Yeah, well, let's do the challenges first, because that's the easy one. Developing your technology on time and on budget.
Yeah. Okay.
in new pioneering spaces. I get challenged on that regularly, so
I bet you do.
let's get that one straight out the box. Yeah, and then the other challenge is getting first use cases in industry or reference sites, as we refer to it. It is really hard. A lot of people say the right things. We want to, adopt innovative technology. But there's saying the thing and then actually doing it. I personally feel there is a gap there. I think in areas we're getting better at it, but I have a bias, right? So I accept that. And then opportunity-wise, you mentioned ChatGPT earlier. I could definitely see a future where something such as that would be used for, say, remote condition monitoring.
Yeah.
So, hey, detecting this trend on a data set, what does it mean? What's the impact of that going to be? I know there are people looking at that already. Machine learning, as I mentioned, is going to play a huge role in terms of optimization. Large operators, I'll stick my head above the parapet, but large operators typically don't want, big teams of people that have huge wealths of knowledge, because they get really good and then go somewhere else and it leaves a hole for them. It's not that they don't recognize the value they have, but people go and leave. Whereas if you embed it in technology, it's a way of developing that IP and holding it in-house. And then edge computing, computing technologies still developing at a rate of knots, and will play a significant role in what you can do in terms of processing data locally before bringing it back to a central location. So I could go on forever.
I know you could. Yeah, absolutely. We could spend a couple of hours just with you two on these topics. It's brilliant. Stuart, I'm going to go to a question or a comment from, and I will put this out to both of you. There's a lovely question that's coming from Keith. Hi, Keith. Thank you. When developing new technologies, how do you estimate operating lifespan of new equipment, and how do you evaluate the old IRM element of that?
Yeah.
Luca's like, thank you, Stuart.
I thought they was talking to me anyway. I've stitched myself up there. Very interesting question and very relevant. So I should have mentioned a third challenge in my other question. So obviously, in our industry, there are a lot of bodies that set qualification standards, right, that typically have to be met. to get things like insurance
Yeah.
or to secure financing from a bank. Why they are good things, and I recognise that, they are also a challenge when it comes to innovation, because typically innovative technology challenges, the way things have always been done. Otherwise, it won't be innovative, right? Which is one of the reasons why, getting asset owners, for example, to adopt new technology is a barrier, because they're taking a risk or challenging that as well. I think, in a roundabout way, what I'm saying is, don't know if I've answered this question or not, I'm just rereading it. That is a barrier and that is a challenge. And I think the better we get at taking an agile process to some of those standards and certification requirements, the better. And that's all linked to things like lifespan estimation, because you build something to a standard, it's going to last for 20 years because it's built to this standard, and someone will sign off on it.
Very good. Thank you very much to Keith. Luca, I've got one for you, and it's going to melt your mind because it's what emerging technologies are being worked on, developed that have the potential to change both the way we live and work.
How much time do we have?
God, that's not the other question.
I'm just going to ask Midjourney or ChatGPT. Yeah, go for it.
You mentioned ChatGPT. It started end of last year. In 1 month, they got to 1 million users, and it's growing. And we are using it. And is an example of how fast technology change can arrive, especially in the world of digital. So if I had to summarize, I think there are exciting technologies that will change the way we live and work, are either molecules or bits as big categories. So the molecules is net zero front, the hydrogen, the CO2 dealing technologies. They will change the way we heat our homes. They will change the way we transport, we go around, the way we power, we manufacture and travel. And then there's the digital, the bits, the artificial intelligence, but the digital twin, the operation, the remote operation, or the robotics element of it, which is also changing not only how we access what we normally think of digital technology, but also how we use the physical technology. So every engineer technology is also digital technology somehow, and that will is making an impact on our daily life, as well as in our daily the job.
Yeah. Thank you so much to David. Please keep your questions and comments coming in. For now, we always enjoy you having both of you guys on the show. To Luca, please, Luca at the Net Zero Technology Centre, please reach out and connect on LinkedIn, or send him an old-fashioned envelope with a handwritten letter.
Or on the website. That's probably the best way.
Probably the best way, yeah, absolutely.
Netzerotc.com, that you can just fill what you want to talk about and then start easily from there.
Excellent. And Stuart Harvey, if you want to pull that conversation through with Stuart and examine some of that real-time optimization or anything about that humans and culture in innovation, please connect with Stuart and pull that conversation through. For now, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure, and we hope to see you again on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Let me just sort that out there. We're now moving on to the In the Spotlight section of our show. So I'm going to welcome Paul. I'm going to welcome David and Jamie to the show. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Good, thanks. Yourself?
Absolutely spot on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this is our In the Spotlight section of the show. We speak to companies that are kind of spearheading. We've just been speaking to people who are kind of leading edge on policy and innovation and all of that. And you guys are right in amongst it right now. So we're going to start with Paul, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Now, despite the beautiful Scottish accent that you have, you're not in Scotland right now.
I'm most certainly not. I'm based in Houston, so it's a little bit earlier in the day than most in this call.
A little bit early in the day, and we thank you for giving up your breakfast for us, Paul. Thank you. That's very nice of you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Arnley Systems, for those who don't know about you, which I'd be really surprised if anyone is out there going, who's Arnley Systems, but just a little reminder of what you guys focus on and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we were founded we're a very well-established company, almost 30 years old now,
Right.
headquartered in Aberdeen, but we have offices in Houston, where I'm based, and in the Philippines as well. So we're providers of inspection and maintenance or field service management software, as well as materials management software as well, which would cover more warehouse.
Very good, very good. We glitched a little bit there on the audio, but I'm hopeful that it's all going to be okay. You did the old max headroom there for a second, but we're okay. We'll be all right. A quick flit around your sort of marketing literature onto your website, and you'll notice that one of the things that you talk about is One, a piece of software, a software solution called One. Can you tell us a wee bit about One?
Yes, so One is our software brand. I'm hoping you can hear me okay now.
Yeah, got you.
Yep,
Perfect.
excellent. So what One was developed for, it was really about facing the challenges that the industry were having and what our customers were feeding back to us. I mean, being so established, we've got a great customer base that we can leverage and use and have forums with and really get that feedback about, well, what do you want next? What do we need to see next? So some of the challenges our customers are facing were things like the risk of explosion. Now, as extreme as that sounds, it's like, well, if you're not carrying out your inspections on your equipment, then that's the harsh reality of that. Yeah. And then we have compliance issues, so industry standards or even just internal procedures and standards, they were issues. And then having no audit trail of when inspections were being done. So HSE would come in and say, can you show us when this equipment was last inspected? There were companies, and there still are companies out there that would just give you a blank expression of, oh, yeah, I don't know. Mm-hmm. So it's, and then these long manual processes of pen and paper and Excel spreadsheets, and no offense to anyone who's I still use Excel spreadsheets myself, but it's when it comes to like processes like carrying out your inspections, it's like, well, how can you make that more efficient? Because we get told for a 3-week trip offshore, there's about a week's worth of paperwork, and that's our typical type of inspection. That's just too much time, and it's well, when do management and the decision makers start seeing that data? Well, it's about a month out of date.
Aye.
So it's like, well, if there's something critical happening there, well, what do they do with that? So that's where One comes in. It's like a field service management tool. It's highly configurable. Our foundations, hazardous area, EX inspections, but right. We've grown on that. We've developed it, and we've developed an inspection tool that can be standards-based inspections, or just kind of any other inspection type or workflow that our customers would have.
Very good, very good. And are you limited in scope and delivery to the regions that you mentioned? I mean, where are you working in the world?
Yeah, everywhere and anywhere, to be honest. So we've got customers and partners globally. We've got FPSO fleet contracts, LNG plants, offshore platforms, commercial shipping, distilleries, petrochemical, refineries, and then to tie back into what was being said earlier with Stuart and partnerships, we see that as a key part of our strategy. And it's all about, well, if the supply chain can work closer together, then obviously the more turnkey solution then customers get. And then there's people on this forum today that we're in discussions with about how we can work closer together to give the end client that better solution or one platform that they need to go on to get access to all this technology. They don't want to be having to go to all these multiple places. If we can give them one platform, then excellent. And I'm going to pull you out, David, Zinc 360, for example, a digital twin solution. You go on there, and as you're walking through your platform, sorry, you just, like an Arnley logo or something comes up. And this is, I mean, very early discussions, but then you go in there and that takes you to your inspection data and allows you to do your inspections. That's the kind of conversations that we're having at the moment.
There is innovation and technological advancement happening live on the screen, folks. It's
hard to hear.
We heard it here. Absolutely wonderful. And if someone was to touch in with you, your customers, what benefits are they seeing in their lives, their professional lives with you?
Yes, so I mean, what they're doing at the moment, I mean, like I say, they're coming away from this pen and paper, so they're using tablets, smartphones, they're using technology like RFID tags, QR codes to access their equipment. They carry out the inspection and move on to the next one, done. So you can imagine straight away the kind of the efficiencies you're going to start getting. The efficiency of your inspectors will probably increase in about 150%. You're taking away all that paperwork. They're managing, in some cases, almost double the amount of inspections they're doing per day. So you're then going to reduce your inspection campaign time. So clients who have issues with POB, well, obviously it helps with things like that. And then probably most importantly is the compliance. I mean, certainly if it's industry standard, like our EX inspections are, and those regulations, is if you're remaining compliant, then it's all about safety, and your assets are safer,
Absolutely.
your people are safer. And then you've got analytics tools in the background as well that you can use. So it's really, okay, you've got this data, great. Well, what are you going to do with it? And really starting to embrace that and start doing like trends. And because it's web-based, it can be accessed anywhere in the world. So there's no excuse for being able to not do anything with that data.
Very good, Paul. Please connect with Paul if that sounds something that interests you. That is wonderful. You mentioned him first. David Wood is here, product manager from Zinc 360. David, Paul just said it, digital twins and all of that fantastic stuff. But could you just give us a wee reminder of what Zinc 360 is all about, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Eric, and thanks, Paul, for being in as well. So yeah, Zinc 360, we capture and create a comprehensive digital twin of our clients' assets, and we deliver it in a secure cloud-based solution. Yeah.
Brilliant. Your article in this month's OGV Energy Magazine, I get commissioned for as many times as I hold it up, so I just need to keep doing that to make sure that it happens. You talk about something that I found very interesting, and I didn't quite understand it until I read it, but it makes complete sense. Point cloud data.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, yeah. Point clouds are a construction of individual points in a 3D space. So every point has an X, Y, Z coordinate. And that gives them a position in that 3D space. And grouped together, they build a kind of 3D model. And each point within the digital, within that point cloud, is a digital reference of a physical environment, and it's a really accurate way of taking measurements with confidence, because you can see it in that 3D space as well. And two of the ways we've had experience capturing it, there's multiple ways of capturing, but two of the ways that we specialize in capturing it are with photogrammetry and LiDAR.
Right.
And it all has different fidelities of accuracy, but combination of both. That's kind of what the article was. It comes back to having a combination of that really detailed 3D point cloud, but combining it with the photogrammetry that we offer as well, which is the high definition photography, and that gives those 3D measurements, 3D space, but also you can get that tiny details. You can read the equipment tag. You can see where work is being carried out. You can take snipping tool, use the snipping tool to create little parts of those projects to build work packs.
Fantastic. That whole reality capture space is building, and you know, for those in the industry, if you think digital twin of assets, Zinc 360's name is not far away from your thoughts quite after that. You've been in that space for a while, very active, very well known. But with the advent of every development in digital, it's a fast moving world, right? How do you keep up with that? What's Zinc 360's edge on keeping up with advances in technology there?
Yeah, even in these last few conversations, you heard a few things that were mentioned, things like machine learning, things like AI, and different technologies that we're looking into as well with slam capture and all these different things. And I've been doing this sort of capture and software side of thing for over a decade, and
Right.
this definitely feels like the fastest technology is moving. But we keep track of it, keep on top of it, keep knowledgeable about all that. But it comes back to the core couple of things, and that's collaboration with clients and making sure we're delivering the right product for them. We're solving a problem for them, and also building everything geospatially, because if it's built geospatially, then it means everything can be integrated. It's not just a single solution for one particular job or particular capture. It's thinking about it holistically and capturing it for multiple use cases. So that's kind of the roundabout way we keep on top of it, keeping those core things in mind.
I love it. And for those of the people that in our audience that do know Zinc 360, you maybe have thought fixed platforms, but you're also doing a bit in the sort of downstream space as well, right? You've been over in Europe working in refineries. What have you been doing there?
Yeah, so that exact thing that I just covered there, that holistic capture, we've got a big client over there, one of the biggest refineries in Europe, and they really bought into that holistic idea of the whole capture of their site. And being the product manager at Zinc has given me that opportunity to see a lot of sides of it and speak directly with the users, which has been great. It's some of our recent tools that we've developed have been based on that feedback and finding out where the gaps are in their sort of workflow and how they see Zinc helping deliver that. And one of the things was management of change, keeping track and trying to. We've got a part of our system where they can tag and keep track of it, and that's a way of them being able to keep their as-built digital twin, reality capture of their site as evergreen as possible. And another is focus mode, and that's one of the tools that we developed with them, and that helps organize all their different groups within that one project, so they're not seeing the stuff that's not relevant for them. They're interacting with their team members. And one of the things with that as well, with being able to interact with users, was that we were able to survey over 100 people on that site and get an idea of what they were wanting out of us and how much they were using it. And on average, we got that they were saying they were saving 5 hours a month. So
Crikey.
Save a massive amount. Some of them were even saying they were saving about 40 hours a month. These were the turnaround planners and people that were building new plans for them and building those plans. So they saved so much time by not having to go out on site and all that travel time and the time finding pieces of equipment. They could just do it at their desk.
Love it. Something that was mentioned quite a lot by our headline guests was integration, collaboration, partnerships, and all of that.
Yeah.
Something you agree with as a project manager these days?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I believe it's vital because there's no silver bullet. Like when it comes to finding the digital solution or the digital twin, and I'm sure Paul and Jamie are both in that mindset as well, where you've got to find those trusted companies and trusted partners that you can work with and integrate with to solve the problems that your customers have. And it's just that communication and making sure that you're solving the problems, not just trying to create something that you think is a solution before understanding what your clients are needing.
Absolutely brilliant, David. Thank you so much for joining us today. Jamie, you sat there patiently, waiting for your moment in the sun, and we're now there. How you doing?
I was waiting on you saying saving for the best for last, but no,
saving the best to last. Ailsa Reliability, Jamie. For those who don't know, what are you guys all about?
So we don't have the kind of history that the other two guys have got. So I started the business up in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. Everyone thought it was crazy, but they probably went too wrong. But the reason that I started the business, I've been involved in motor generator repairs and HV, LV repairs for a long time. And for years and years, I always said, everything's a firefight. It was always a firefight. So
Right.
things would be breaking down. Everyone would be spending huge amount of time and stress trying to get things repaired. And I always thought, surely we can see this coming. Surely somebody can say in advance that this is going to break down. So had that philosophy, and then we've tried to implement it, and then I've decided, you know what, let's go and give this a go, a real go, because there's technologies out there in the markets and the industries were starting to change, and we're starting to adopt new thinking. And it so started up Hills Reliability Solutions to be that different business.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so our main objective is just to try and save clients money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, do this by eliminating downtime and reducing wasted energy in their key and critical processes. So, yeah, that's us been now going a couple of years, and we're proud to say that we've managed to save over £2 million in unplanned downtime and help generate over 30 gigawatts of green electricity. So, yeah.
Not too shabby. Remembering, folks, keep the questions coming in for Paul, David, and Jamie here. Jamie, we noticed in the press that you won a bit of an award. So someone's actually taken notice of what you're doing, and you won a bit of an award. Can you tell us what that was about?
You'll make me blush. Yeah, so we entered the Scottish Edge competition, and I don't know if anyone that's watching today has ever been involved in it. So it's quite a grueling process, especially when you're just a small business. But we went forward for that, looking at obviously what we're doing different in the marketplace. And we won the Zero Waste Scotland Circular Economy Award from the Scottish Edge, which is quite a mouthful. But the reason, so the feedback on why we won the award over some of the other people that were as part of the competition was because we're taking a different approach to the condition monitoring world. And rather than that, there's, and oil and gas is the same as most industry sectors out there. There was a bit of a LV motors and small pumps and things like that were seen as a consumable because they were relatively cheap to change, and a lot of time it was cheaper to change them to repair them. But what we've been doing is by using real-time good data, we can see a problem far enough in advance that they can get it repaired during a shutdown at a minimum cost, and there's no cost to the production. So it's just keeping that circular economy bit going rather than waiting for it to break. It's usually past economical repair and you have to replace it. And with Brexit and everything else that's going on in the world, getting replacements are not as easy as they used to be either. So those stars have kind of aligned where our approach to it has came probably at the right time when Brexit and all the other challenges there, COVID, everything else in the world, and it's coming together that people want to get things to last longer rather than the kind of the throw away and replace kind of philosophy.
You've got your own product for doing this, haven't you? What is it you call it?
It's called Ailsa Vision.
Ailsa Vision. You heard it here
Vision,
first. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Tell us a wee bit about Ailsa Vision, please.
Yeah, well, Ailsa Vision actually came from conversations with an oil and gas operator. We went to one of the operators and did a feasibility study for them on their electrical assets. So they were looking at using IIoT and remote monitoring solutions to give them remote data. So rather than sending people out to the platform or getting the core crew to gather data, how much would it cost and how easy would it be to implement a remote monitoring solution? And so we did it on the electrical assets. So switchgear, motors, generators, transformers, etc. And it worked out that there isn't back to what the guys, both David and Paul said, and also Stuart, there isn't a one-size-fits-all out there. So to be able to do just the electrical elements to it, they needed 5 different products. Each of those 5 products had its own communication language, it had its own way of viewing the data, transferring the data. So we put it all to the operator, and we knew the answer before we went there was, what do you think your biggest challenge is going to be? And they came back and went, our IT infrastructure.
Yeah.
We will struggle to get one new technology on there, never mind 5. So I kind of went there with a question and said, see if we can put something over the top of these 5 technologies that means that it's only one single API and you've got a dashboard that collects all the data first. Would that be helpful? And they said yes. So the brain started working and Ailsa Vision started.
The Ailsa Vision started.
There's a mouthful. Ailsa Vision, yes. So that started then, and then what we did is we decided we went out to the market to try and see if we could buy something that did this. And there was a few things out there that were that could maybe do 50-60% of what the client was asking us. But we couldn't find anything that could do everything. So we decided to go and do it ourselves.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it was a big jump, obviously. The other director of the business, I think, was a bit kind of worried. He knew that it was a good thing to do, but he's saying, right, do we want to go and invest all this time and money into something that right now we don't really know if anybody's going to buy? But we did a bit of market research, spoke to the clients, and we got good enough feedback that we decided to give it a go.
Outstanding, fantastic. And you yourself are not shy about collaboration and partnership. I mean, it's something when you think about innovation and technology within companies, and I can speak from my own previous experience. It used to be, we're developing stuff in secret, we'll do it ourselves, we need to buy everything, we need to own it all, it needs to be ours, and it's all a secret. But you're quite open to collaboration, and in fact, you've collaborated with some pretty significant players, right?
Yeah. So like, we're all about collaboration. You'll never be an expert in everything, and we've came across some, and I've worked with some larger companies, and they try to be experts in everything, rather than just focusing on what they're really good at. And
Yeah.
I see that as a downfall for a lot of people. But no, we've collaborated with obviously Bell Rock Technology. They're the company that actually developed the platform for us.
Right.
So we've got a partnership in place with those guys, and that we couldn't have did that ourselves. I mean, I'm not an expert in programming. These guys are.
Yeah.
Let them do it. Let them do it, and then we collaborate and put a package together. We're collaborating with Strathclyde University at the moment for looking at both Strathclyde University and the National Manufacturing Institute for Scotland. So the NMIS they're called.
Yep.
So we're collaborating with those guys, and that's all about taking the product to the next level. I mean, David, Paul, and Stuart and Luca all spoke about it. So machine learning, real-time optimization, AI, and bringing all this to the condition monitoring world. So working with those guys at the moment and looking at how we develop the product continuously. And it's the same with even the downstream technologies that we use. So we don't supply sensors, we don't supply hardware. What we do is we help clients find the right solution. And that may be a mixture of 1, 2, 3, 5 different technologies. All we're doing is trying to bring all that together and make it make sense. Like Paul was saying earlier, it's okay gathering data, but you need to be able to put that data into a nice story and explain it to someone that they can understand easy enough.
Fantastic. Listen, it is superb to have you guys on our show. We loved having you here. Thank you to all our viewers for tuning in. Paul Goonan, Arne Lee, Jamie Burnley at Ailsa, and David Wood at Zinc 360. If you want to extend that conversation, please connect with them and take it forward. But for now, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and all the best for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We will see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye.
Well, that was great. I've just got a little note for you here. I'm just going to put up a graphic for you. You may or may not know, and you may have your tickets ready and your hotel booked, but OTC is just around the corner, Offshore Technology Conference in Houston, just a few weeks away, and we would love to see you there. We're running a number of events. We've got a golf day. In fact, I've got a nice graphic. We've got a golf day, golf networking day at Tour 18 on Sunday, the 30th of April. We are doing a business breakfast, and we've got a fantastic lineup, which will be published shortly. At the Royal Sonesta Houston on the Tuesday the 2nd of May, 7:30 to 9:30. And we've got a nice drinks reception at the Post Oak Ice House on Wednesday the 3rd of May, 7 p.m. till late, ... We'd love to see you there. I'll just leave that on the screen for a wee bit longer. And how do you get there? There's how you get there. www.ogv.energy/events, and you can click on any of those and you can register through Eventbrite. We'd love to see you there. I'll be there with my colleagues from OGV, and we're really looking forward to OTC this year. Hope to see you there. We're moving on to the Market Watch section of our show. This is where we bring on our colleagues and friends that are at the cutting edge of what's happening in all of our energy markets and sectors. So we're going to start with Bazad Ayoub, Senior Analyst at Westwood Global, and Neil Golding at the EIC. I hope these guys are here. Yes, they are. Bazad, you're here.
Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Great to see you. And Mr. Golding, sir, how are you?
Hey, how are we doing?
Which far-flung corner of the world are you in right now?
Notting Hill. No, Notting Hill. That's where. God, yeah, that's some time ago. Vauxhall. Sorry. Yeah, good to see you,
Nice
Bezak.
seeing you, Neil. How you doing?
That's all I say. Very good.
Absolutely. Bazad, could we start with you? So you're pretty much focused, I don't know if it's exclusively, but on the wind sector, right?
I'm on the wind sector, yeah. So Westwood, we do cover other energy sectors, but myself, it is just the wind side of things.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So it'd be a lovely crossover if you could give us a wee mention of some of the major highlights in offshore wind since we last spoke on OGV Energy.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, some of the big highlights have been quite a lot of FIDs have taken place since
Right.
the last update. So we've had FIDs taken at the 960 megawatt Hydrite project in Germany, at the 496 megawatt Nomater project in France, and also at the Greater Changhua 2A and 4 wind farms in Taiwan. So these are being these Taiwanese wind farms are being operated by Ørsted, and they'll have a combined capacity of 920 megawatts. Also had quite a lot of contracts being awarded at East Anglia 3 wind farm offshore England, so they're
Okay.
close to home. So one of the major ones was the award of a contract to Siemens Gamesa. It amount to approximately $1.6 billion for the supply of 95 SG14 236 turbines. And these turbines will be running at a capacity of 14.7 megawatts individually. Apart from that, consortium of Navantia Synergies and Windar Renewables have been awarded a contract to supply 45 monopile turbine foundations at East Anglia 3. And Cadler has also signed a firm contract to install those Siemens turbines. So Cadler's contract is valued at approximately $109 million.
My goodness me. Lots of activity to talk about. What near-term activity should our viewers be keeping an eye on that have an interest in this wind world?
I'd definitely say keeping an eye on leasing activity. So according to our data, in 2022 alone, a whopping 54.9 gigawatts of new offshore lease capacity was awarded globally. And 2023 is looking to be quite significant for lease award as well. So as I hope most know, a few weeks ago, the INTOG leasing round was concluded offshore Scotland. Total 13 projects were selected by Crown Estate Scotland. 5 were selected for the innovation portion, and the remaining 8 for the targeted oil and gas portion. France also concluded its tender recently for the rights to develop the 1 gigawatt Normandy wind farm, and this was awarded to a joint venture of EDF and Maple Power. And in terms of recently launched tenders, again, in the last sort of few weeks, the candidates who will participate in competitive dialogues for the rights to develop the 1 gigawatt Ile d'Orléans and 1.5 gigawatt Saint-Amand 2 wind farms in France have been revealed. The winners of these are scheduled to be announced at the beginning of 2024. 9 candidates have been shortlisted for Ile d'Orléans and 6 for Saint-Amand 2. And we've also had tenders launched, for the first time in Lithuania as well as Norway. So Lithuania is looking to award the rights to develop a 700 megawatt project, and Norway's launched a tender for 2 sites. So one is the first phase of Solidgenoso 2, which will be 1.5 gigawatts, and also 3 sites across the Osteria Nord offshore wind area. So these will be floating wind projects. And the reason I think you should keep an eye on this leasing information, tenders, etc., is because it's vital to get in as early as possible. So if for the viewers, I think you should monitor at the very early stage, see even if you can who's bidding to try and get in as early as possible, basically.
Very good. Now, our show this month is about innovation and technology. What innovations are you seeing in the offshore wind world?
So I guess starting with floating wind, I think that's an area where there's just all kinds of innovation happening with the different floating solutions. I think at the moment there's, depending on who you ask, between 80 to 100 different types of floating wind foundation types. And these are being developed by a mixture of company types. So these include engineering consultants, startups, as well as traditional oil and gas platform, EPC contractors. The type of innovations we're seeing is, dual turbines on platforms, different types of self sort of erecting platforms. You've also got now a lot of sustainability. So how to build sustainable floating wind farms using sustainable materials. And, these are all sort of being developed based on different graphical factors, local infrastructure availability, and turbine designs. So that's, I'd say, an area where there's a lot of innovation within the technology that'll be used. But then the market itself is also sort of created new innovative ways of how to use the power that'll be generated. So you've got potentially powering oil and gas platforms, as we talked about with the Intog round, and also high wind Tampin, which will be the first one estimated to come online within this year. And also then power to X as well. So a lot of talk about using floating wind for hydrogen production. And outside of floating wind, I think sort of two main areas of interest innovations is the turbine race, that never-ending turbine race. So when I started in offshore wind, I think about 6-7 years ago, the average turbine was 6 megawatts. Now you've got 15 megawatt prototypes of GE and Siemens being tested. You got Siemens and Vestas, and you got GE announcing 17 to 18 megawatt variants of its own Haliade turbine as well. And on the vessel side of things as well, there's a lot of innovation there in terms of sustainability. So dual fuel, hybrid vessels, different type of fuel such as methanol and ammonia, looking into to sort of, I guess, decarbonize the construction and servicing of the offshore wind sector as a whole.
Lovely. What a lot of interesting information. If our viewers want the full Westwood Global report, pages 42 and 43 of this month's magazine for all the usual rig updates and movements and activities. Thank you, Bazad. Absolutely great to see you back on the show, and we hope to see you again. We are going to go to Neil. Neil, great to see you. I mentioned OTC and all of the activity that we've got going on around that. What news from the Gulf of Mexico?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. And we're coming through. Okay, there's a little interruption.
Perfect.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, thank you, Eric. Actually, things are moving forward again in the Gulf of Mexico, which is good. We have had a period where we did see very little activity within the region, but more recently there's positive news. And I'll start with the Mexican side. First off, where we have the Cayob Pit offshore oil field, which has just recently had approval for its development plan that had been previously presented by Pemex in December 2022. We're now expecting around about $450 million of investment on that particular project prior to startup in 2025. We've also continued to see drilling activity in the region once more, and a significant new discovery having been made by ENI in the Mexican market. So they've announced a discovery on Block 7 after drilling the Yatzil-1 exploration well, and that's in relatively deep, shallow waters, I guess, 284 meters, but drilled to a depth of just over 2,400 meters. So potentially 200 million barrels of oil equivalent. And so that market is looking like it's going to move forward and see more investment in the future. On the US side of things, we've recently seen some sizable contracts awarded at the Leon offshore oil field, which is operated by LLOG Exploration, and Trendsetter Engineering has recently been awarded a contract to provide subsea hardware for that field, and also the Castile oil field of the part of the Salamanca developments as well. So slowly but surely, the Gulf of Mexico is beginning to recover from what has been a relatively quiet period, I think it's fair to say.
Good stuff, yeah, and more power to it. Somehow we've managed to appear in Q2. I don't quite know how that happened. I remember saying Happy New Year to someone only 2 minutes ago, but we've come crashing into Q2. So we've now got to the point in the year when FIDs are done, are completed, and people are crashing on into planning their projects. What projects should we expect to see proceeding in the coming months?
Yeah, no, thank you, Eric. So with regards to the FID side of things, it's been a relatively quiet start to the year with regards to the upstream sector, and that's despite still relatively high oil prices and the increasing demand for gas as well. But we've seen sizable projects such as the Agogo project in Angola, the Lapa Southwest field development in Brazil, and so there are still, and Dover, a subsea tieback in the US as well. So these are all 100 million plus, well, $500 million plus dollar projects that are all proceeding. Further ahead, we're expecting more activity in Guyana around the Uraru oil field that had been expected to reach FID in March. That's now likely to be April, May. In fact, we've got a delegation in Guyana right now, and we've just discovered that the Fangtooth development will be the 7th development in Guyana that's going to move forward in terms of the FPSO side of things. In Angola as well, we've got Camilla Golfinho. That's a $6 billion project. And again, coming back to the Gulf of Mexico, Woodside are expecting the Trion field to reach final investment decision this year. And then a little closer to home, I guess, in Romania, OMV looking to make a final investment decision on the Neptune block, probably by the end of Q3 2023, and that's another fairly sizable TCF gas discovery in the Black Sea.
Very good, very good. Love this section of the show. Are we going to see you over in Houston this year?
Unfortunately not. My colleagues will be there
Right.
en masse. The UK pavilion again being run by the EIC, and so please do, if you're in town, pop by and see colleagues, including CEO Stuart Broadley and Regional Director Amanda Doohan, who will both be on site, I'm sure, throughout the time.
On site. Gentlemen, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your input today, and we will catch up with you on the next show. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Eric.
See you later.
Cheers, Eric. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Now, some of you may know that this is not the only publication or show that we run here at OGV Energy. There are more. We run a series of renewables-based energy transition podcasts led by none other than, and I could just pull them on right now. Here we go. It's Maury Melhuish. How are you doing?
Great, Eric. How's things?
Oh, fantastic. Great. Always great to see you. Always great to see you. I just noticed you there. You just dropped by. It's like you rung the doorbell and said, come in for a cup of tea. Here you are.
You know, I've been sitting backstage really enjoying the show. What an interesting, varied, stimulating show. I find it really interesting.
Absolutely fantastic. Brilliant guest. And I could sense I could see you sort of bobbing about with all of that stuff about offshore wind and all these gigawatts and all of that. I could see you going, yes, absolutely. When we spoke, the last time we spoke, I caught you at a conference over in Holland. What were you doing over there?
That's right. I was over in Amsterdam. I was speaking at the Subsea Cable Installation Asset Management and Reliability Forum, no less.
It rolls off the tongue.
Doesn't it just?
It does.
But it was interesting because, of course, cables are essential for the energy transition.
Yep.
And, you know, there's a whole industry around just subsea cables and their installation and maintenance.
Fantastic. Good show.
Oh, it was really interesting. Yeah. So I was there. I was actually speaking for a business called Aratellis, which is a trenching contractor. Right. They've got a really incredible 1,600 horsepower trencher, which is designed for trenching and up steep slopes and over uneven seabeds and all sorts, which I was giving a case study on. That was really great. And then I was doing a panel session on the future of cable operation and maintenance.
Very good indeed. I love it. Now, apart from those strings to your boat, you also run the Let's Talk Transition pod. I have a graphic. Can I show this graphic?
Go on then.
I have a graphic. So this is a graphic with you and I guess some, not all of your guests on Let's Talk Transition. I'll put that off because I can feel you cringing right now. Or maybe you love it.
Yeah.
That is OGV Energy's podcast, Let's Talk Transition, which you are the host. There we go. We're back. You've been interviewing lots of wonderful people and have many more to come. Who can we expect in the pipeline?
Oh, it's been great. Well, you know, gosh, who do we have coming up in the pipeline? Who will you have seen? Well, we've got Aker Horizons, Philippe Cavafian. We've just launched his this week, in fact. He's the global executive director there, and they're a really interesting business doing loads around offshore wind and green hydrogen, carbon capture and storage, and all sorts of cool stuff. We've got the co-founder and chief technology officer from Flotation Energy. That's Alan McCaskill. So we recorded with him with a full TV crew at his offices in Aberdeen. So That'll be getting published just shortly. In fact, it's been in the magazine, but the transcript's been in the magazine, but the full interview hasn't been online.
Coming out.
So look forward to that. We've got Adam Morrison. He's the UK country manager at Ocean Winds. Adam's incredible. You'll love him. He's 42 years old.
Right.
And for his next, head of the UK for this, for Ocean Winds, his next project's got a £2 billion capex.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Amazing. And just yesterday, and it's interesting, of course, that Stuart was on the show earlier, I interviewed Davis Larson, Chief Exec at ProServe.
It's all knitting together.
It's all knitting together, yes. And of course, Davis was telling me too about his bid to join the board of Renewable UK. So that's incredible, interesting. Lots of interesting.
It really is. You've got lots of good stuff. So we crossed the streams today, 2 of the OGV shows. I'm just saying, if you ever need a little drop-in guest for the end of your show, I'm always there for you. I'm just saying.
You'll be first on the list, Eric.
First on the rejected list. Listen, more power to you. Please connect with Murray. Check out the Let's Talk Transition podcast. I need to show the graphic again because I love it. It's one of my favourite things. There we go. Check that out. More to come on that, and looking forward to catching up with you later on all things renewables and transition.
Absolutely. Likewise. Thanks very much, Eric.
Good stuff, Murray. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
We have reached the end of our show, and it's been an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you. I'd like to thank all of our guests today, and thank all of you for taking part. The little competition that we ran, I'm going to go with this one just because I thought it got an excellent response from Luca. I'm going to go with that one from David Stewart. So David Stewart, what emerging technologies have we worked on to develop the potential to change both the way we live and work? I like the fact that was broad-ranging. So we will get in touch with you, David. If you drop me a line after the show, we will hook you up with a free half-page editorial piece or an advert in a forthcoming magazine. Well done, David. Good stuff, everyone. Thank you so much. We're off to OTC in a couple of weeks. We hope to see you there. And by all means, jump on. I'll put it up one more time so that you can see it. Jump on there, and we hope to see you at some of the events that we are running. So good stuff. We are coming back on this show, OGV Energy Live, on Thursday, the 25th of May at 2 p.m, where our theme will be something very close to my heart. It was a big portion of my life for a long time: drilling and well services. If you're sitting out there thinking, oh, I'd really like to be on that, get in touch and we'll see what we can do. Thank you so much. In the meantime, it's been an absolute pleasure to spend the afternoon with you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.